and you have an agenda. Would you share it with everybody?
You know, that agenda is that we don't want to see any parents go through what we've been through. And the SPC, Surviving Parents Coalition, came together as we were actually found each other up on the steps of the Capitol in Washington, D.C., working on the Adam Walsh Act. And we had interacted with each other over the past few years, but we finally came to the conclusion that one big voice is going to do so much more than our individual voices.
My son Christopher was 10 years old when he was abducted about 2 blocks from our home where we lived in the small town of Kankakee, Illinois. 8 days later, his remains were found. He had been taken and murdered by a repeat offender. He was stabbed 53 times. They told me that he had a bruise on his jaw, that he was most likely knocked out and grabbed or something like that, or punched and then thrown in the car or something. So in my head, up until we got to trial, I always assumed he was always unconscious and he never knew what happened to him. And it wasn't until we got to trial that I found out he fought very hard for his life. Right after he went missing, I kept trying to push and get legislators involved in kind of what is like the Amber Alert now. I kept saying, if we could just have it to where immediately media breaks in to say, just like they do with, being from the Midwest, from Illinois, that there's a tornado warning, a tornado was spotted. If you have that child's picture up there, because you don't know when Gomer Pyle's sitting in the gas station and comes out and there's that kid in the car. That song is, every time I hear it, I think, that's kind of how it is for those of us that are surviving parents. It just, for so long, it feels like that's all it's doing is raining. And the sun could be shining, but inside of us, it feels like it's raining. And a lot of times it takes some of us longer than others to get beyond that point. And it took me a while. When my son was abducted and murdered, he was only 10 years old, and I couldn't, it took me a while to get beyond that point, because it felt like everything was black and white. It was like being in the Wizard of Oz, where everything's black and white and just wouldn't change over to color, and felt like it was raining all the time.
My only daughter, Vignette Tiggs, was kidnapped. I left her with my mother, my 2 sisters, my brother, my cousin, and it was 50 neighbors on the porch. It was a project. The phone rang and my mother went inside the apartment to answer the phone. My 2 sisters went in behind her. They left my brother, my cousin, and 50 neighbors. So my daughter was sitting outside with the neighbor, and she decided to go do her dishes, so she sat her down by the hallway. So they don't know if someone was going up the stairs or coming down, and they just happened to see a little pretty baby, and they decided to take her.
Back home, and I heard this lady screaming and hollering, "Kathy, Kathy." And she said, do you have your baby with you? And I'm like, no, my baby's in the bed asleep. And she said, no, honey, your baby is missing. Do you see all the police looking around?
I already got that one. I blew it.
She said, aren't you glad the rain is finally gone? Then I heard the words for the song. She didn't understand what she was saying, but something deep inside of her must have heard me praying. 'Cause it's been raining since October 17th. I don't know if you know what I mean. I've been treading water all this time. At times it brings me comfort, at times I lose my mind. So lift me up, pull me up, pick me up. Above these walls, above these waters, take this cup.
Because DNA upon felony arrest will actually save states money. It expedites investigations significantly, it helps close cases, and it helps bring some resolution to cold cases with astronomical success.
Katie was our firstborn, and Katie was a fierce protector of all that she loved. I think she saw her role as always being the one that took care of everyone in her life that needed her. I always said that if Katie loved you, she loved you like a freight train. She loved her family and her friends with a fierceness that was just unbelievable. Katie graduated in May of 2003 from New Mexico State University with a degree in marketing and business. And then she started working on her MBA, and she was looking forward to making a difference in the world. Katie worked all day at the restaurant where she was a server. After that, she went out with some friends, and then she ended up at some friend's house. And apparently she and her boyfriend had an argument. She got very angry and decided to walk home. She walked about 6 blocks home and never made it into her house. We were called the next day saying she was missing. No one had seen her since she left the party. And then later that day, we found out that she had been found by target shooters in an old city dump. She had been brutally raped, murdered, and her body set on fire. Katie really fought hard for her life, and there was skin and blood under her fingernails that had the DNA of her attacker. And that DNA was sent to CODIS, which is the database for DNA. And the detective told me that they would be running that DNA against the offender DNA frequently to look for a match. And I was very hopeful when I heard that, because I said, this guy was such a horrible man, he'll be arrested for something else, and we'll have him. And that's when I learned that in New Mexico, as in most other states, it's illegal to take DNA upon arrest.
My daughter, Bonnie Craig, was brutally raped and murdered September 28, 1994. Her killer was not identified until 12 years later by a DNA hit. I found out that her killer had been in jail 2 months before he killed her, out on parole when he killed her, and then back in jail 2 months later. This crime, if we had DNA on arrest, could have been solved within 2 months.
Together, we can make DNA testing of arrestees a reality. Reach out to law enforcement and victims advocates groups in your state today, because when dangerous criminals go free, it's our freedom that's at risk.
States must act now to close this loophole in the law. Without it, hardened criminals are allowed to get away with terrible crimes.
Can't speak forgiveness, after all that I've done. I can't show my weakness after all that I've won. You speak these words, but hide your lips. I just want to know them.
October, and we were hoping to get an appointment with you, possibly to talk with you about legislation. The sheriff is going to join you guys a little earlier
Yes, did we have
than
one?
the Lincoln Police Department. So that's good.
We're good with all of that.
Yeah.
It's a little cool this morning.
I know.
Yeah, I wasn't quite ready for that. Told me it was going to be in the 70s.
70s is
Probably
nice.
I brought my
going to
same
be.
3 outfits because I still haven't had time to find my clothes.
No, I figure 70s is good for me. It's California weather.
Yeah.
Those of you who bike, how many bikes? All right, good. You guys wear a helmet, right? You should. Those of you who don't, wear a helmet. It's cool to wear a helmet. Because guess what? It saves your head, and you can learn in the school with your head on right. Right? Now, Ed and I both have 6 kids. See, he has 6, I have 6. And my youngest is 11. You guys are around 10, 11, right? See? All right. So, every time she goes out on the bike, I tell her, who are you going with? Do you guys bike alone?
Initiatives. This is not one more child safety initiative based on Brad kids, and it's something that we think that our children, when you look at what we're doing, trying to push legislation, supporting law enforcement, the children are the ones that have to deal with it on the front line. So helping them and empowering them, I feel is one thing that really needs to change.
Can't speak forgiveness after all that I've done. I can't show my weakness after all that I've won. You speak these words.
My sister Regina Boss disappeared October 17th, 2000 after an open mic night. She carried her guitar out, and that's the last she was seen. Her car was found the next day across the street from the pub where she played. The trunk was open about that far, and her guitar was inside, and that's it. That's all we have to this day.
It was you were the one. Took my heart, turned it to stone. It was you, kept your lips frozen, left all the things you had to say unspoken. It was you that I loved. It was you.
Yeah, wait, here, wait up.
It was you. What have I lost now? What have I lost now? Face to the ground. Face to the ground. What does it cost now? What does it cost now? To have you around. To have you around. I'm confined by my memories. Was so blinded by keeping the key. It was you. It was you. You were the one. Took my heart, stone. It was you that kept your lips frozen.